Hey, everybody, coming up on today's podcast, we've got, this is so weird. Why am I leading in here? All right, well.
Because you the man.
Let's just go with it and see what happens. Jay's over there. Hopefully I'll get through this with his help. We've got an advisory panel for U.S. Homeland Security, and appointed to that advisory panel is none other than the Chief Executive Officer of General Motors, and we're going to talk about that. What else, Jay?
Well, we are wondering why in the world would Subaru choose to kill the WRX? Why is that, and what's coming next for Subaru? We're going to talk about that. What's up, Keith? What do you got? Something else?
Are you a Porsche fan or a Porsche fan? Porsche, if you're
I am.
German style.
I like them. I like Porsche. Yeah.
So there's a model that is a beloved model that is about to be, it's about to go the way of the Dodo.
Dodo.
AKA internal combustion engine death coming soon. So we'll get into that. And also, I'm coming for you, Nationwide Insurance.
Ooh.
All that and so much more coming right up.
Episode number 117, and say hello to my friend and co-host and partner in crime, Keith, over there. How you doing, Keith?
What the hell are you doing here?
Oh, he's got his sound drops back.
Woohoo!
We are in business. I'm loving it, man. I love it.
This is about saving the future of humanity.
Yes.
Do you recognize that voice?
I do.
Okay.
I think
Guess what I've been watching, Jay?
I know you, man. Ever since the last episode, I'm sure. So, wow. Boy, we've got a lot of things to talk about. A lot of things have happened since we last podcasted. I mean, I'm talking a little bit of everything. I mean, we've got Ukraine and Russia at war. We've got people.
All hands to battle stations.
Sorry, that's not... I mean, it is, but it's not funny.
We got people renting cars just for the hell of it. Kind of reminds me, a car rental thing that just recently happened. Reminds me of the what was the movie with Tom Cruise? The NASCAR movie was
Days of Thunder, which, by the way, was filmed in a lot of it was filmed in Bristol.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. But remember, they had the two rental cars, and they were in a wheelchair.
Ford
they were
Taurus,
racing.
yeah,
and they kind of brought them back in not so good shape. Well, we want to share with you. If you haven't seen this video, please go out and watch it, man. It is hilarious.
So you keep, like, honest to God, ladies and gentlemen, before we started recording, Jay's like, I got to watch this one more time. So
it's just hilarious, man. But I mean, there's this dude. And when I shared the video with Keith, I said, "Have you seen this?" And all I get back is just "Oh my God," one of those "Whoa!" And to see this guy fly through the air like he did, and people standing around filming this from several angles, I'm like, this is going to be one expensive video for content creation, man.
Yeah, and people do intentionally blow up stuff and blow up automobiles and do it on YouTube all day. And by the way, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And they get lots of views over it because people like to watch a train wreck, so to speak. I think this is simultaneously, like, hilarious because we're not involved and don't have anything to do with it, and also, like, absurd and scary. And look, we've all, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself here, but I'm sure we all have done dumb things as teenagers. I mean, I certainly have. I think the difference is I did them out, like, in the country with a few of my friends where I wasn't necessarily risking the lives of innocent bystanders. Now, not to say I had good judgment. I mean, it sort of sounds like I practiced good judgment back then. I didn't.
Right.
I'm not trying to make that
I
case.
mean, in your mind today, you think that it was better judgment than what we are seeing
well,
here.
I mean,
sure.
let's okay, so this guy catches a tremendous amount of air in a Tesla.
Oh my God, in a Tesla.
Right?
Yeah, it was a Tesla Model S. And he crashed it, man. This was in a residential area of Los Angeles.
There were people down the street that he slammed into that were in their vehicles.
Yes.
That were not involved in the stunt.
No, all the people that were involved, that appeared to be involved, that were filming this thing were like at the level where he actually went airborne. So they were catching him catching air on film, and there were like several angles of it. So you know that those people were there specifically to catch that on video. Yeah. So, and I what did I say to you? I'm like, dude, this is like live Jackass. This is like totally a Jackass stunt or something. And
here's so as far as that goes, to sort of back that up, did you see what was happening on social media with I mean I can't, so I don't know for sure that it was the actual person driving the Tesla. We know that the LAPD was searching for him. They posted some things out on social media.
There's a $1,000 reward for the guy.
But then somebody comes back out with the old, the song that I probably can't say on here and keep our general rating. It was Ice-T, right? F the Police, right? They were playing that in the background.
Yeah.
And the guy was posting on, I think it was it TikTok?
Yes.
Basically holding the car keys and alluding that he was the guy that was driving the vehicle. You saw this, right? I
did, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was on Twitter, TikTok. It was all over. If you're on social media and you missed it, you don't know how to use social media. I mean, because it was on every feed out there, and I mean, I had several people that I know that were sharing it and asked me if I saw it, and hoping that we might talk about it on the podcast. And so that's kind of why I wanted to bring this thing up today, because it is kind of funny, but extremely dangerous.
Well, and I guess, what makes
this thing got some real serious air, man.
Yeah, there's no way that that was complete and total loss of control. I mean, there's no way on a it's not a closed street that this guy could have known beforehand that he wouldn't crash into other cars and potentially kill people. And I think the thing that bothers me about it is more if this is the guy that's posting that he did it, sort of the can't catch me attitude, like not taking responsibility for, like, Jay, I did some dumb stuff. I crashed some cars as a teenager, and there was this moment of gravity, right, where I went, ooh, that was maybe not a good decision. And then you sort of reconcile with that, right? And you go, there might have been an apology involved if it was the farmer's, fence or whatever, right? Or somebody else's car. There's none of that going on here.
Right. Well, I'm going to just say this. If my dad's listening, which everybody, if you're a fan of ours and you're subscribed to our podcast, we've had my dad on the podcast, and he's a big fan. Hey, Dad. Do you remember when I put my car in the lake?
Man, I thought I had a good one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when I come visit you next time, Dad. Oh boy, did he! I left it there too.
Wait a minute, Jake.
Because
put a car in the lake
intentionally.
On screen.
I'm gonna need some sort of doc. Do we have pictures?
There might be some pictures floating around. I have to ask Dad if he's got it, because here's what happened. So it was late at night when it happened. I was out with a bunch of buds doing donuts out on the banks of the lake, and spun out of control and got into the water a little bit. And I'm like, oh, well, let's see how far I can get in there and then get out. Well, it didn't get out. So I had to open the doors and wade out of there, and couldn't get it out because, we had to walk home. So I ended up walking home with a buddy. And next, he also was, his dad owned a farm. They were dairy farmers, so he had access to tractors. So he pulled me out. But in the meantime of leaving it in the lake, it was reported that there was a car in the lake
Red alert. All hands to battle stations.
Yeah, and fortunately for me, though, the individual of law enforcement that reported the vehicle being in the lake to my father happened to be a distant relative of ours,
see,
who happened to be on the PD, and kind of said, "It's there. It was there. Now it's gone. Let's just." No harm, no foul.
I think the days of common sense in law enforcement and good judgment, I'm not blaming them, but I think those days are gone. You know, I grew up in a similar environment, you know, and I knew a lot of the folks that worked for the local, like, sheriff's department and, you know, city police. And,
sure.
You know, look, I mean, there's this whole element of, did anybody get hurt? Was there any property damage to anyone other than the, you know, the person performing said stunts, right? Said jackass, right?
Yes.
And if not, then sort of like, look, you know, it's just more paperwork, lesson learned here. Let's move on. Let's not bog down the system. That can't happen anymore.
I was let me just say this. I was a member of the Ass family. However, Jack was not my first name. Dumb was. And I think my dad may have called me that a couple of times, but the car never ran right after that.
Oh,
by the way.
No question. Yeah.
Got water in the transmission, and it was an automatic, so it was not a healthy piece of equipment after that. But anyway, I ended up selling it and getting something else, and I think eventually I went in the military. Wonder why.
Well,
so,
you know, speaking of car repairs, Jay, now I've got a little story here. And this is something, I'm going to try something a little bit different here. We might do a little cutaway here of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if this comes out on the video on the YouTube side. I might get a little bit more footage involved and do a little bit of a man on the street kind of reporting, show you some examples of what I'm talking about. But I had a situation recently. That I would like to share what I've learned. I've learned a lot. And this has to do with car repair. It specifically has to do with bodywork and automotive insurance. And, you know, we've all lived through that probably at some point in our lives. We've had an accident and had to go through the repair process, right?
Absolutely. And as you well know, my history, I've worked in vehicle body repair before. Did it for several years. And so I'm very familiar with probably where you're going. We've had conversations about this, I think, but let's go ahead.
I have not one, but two stories, all rolled into one here. You know, mostly because it has to do with my wife, and she's just a magnet for crashing. So, you know. Anyway, so here's what happened. So, couple 2.5 years ago, she hit a mailbox.
She hit a what?
A mailbox. Like
how many times has she done that?
Well, once, but this was a couple years ago.
It just keeps coming up. Okay.
So,
you know, at some point you're going to need to drop this story. I'm sure she's tired of hearing it. So just
probably,
saying.
Yeah. But the story's not done being told. That's the problem, right? So, so it was her fault, and she worked it out with the neighbors, and you know, took care of it. Insurance got involved in all that. And a couple years later, now this was on her Lexus RX. Okay. A couple years later, so that the front end of the car. Over on the driver's side, I think it was, is where the impact happened. So that whole headlight assembly,
right?
We used to call them quarter panels. The front quarter panel it had to be replaced. And a couple of years ago, I noticed that whole headlight assembly was really yellow. I mean, looked like a jar of Vaseline yellow. Okay. And I called. So kind of to cut to the chase of it. You know, I looked over at the original one that had not ever been damaged from the factory, and it still looked crystal clear. So you could say, well, the sun has just, you know, from being parked outside, did it. Well, the factory one, the original one was fine. Right. But the one that was only a year old had started to yellow. So I called the guy at the body shop, and luckily we have ours through State Farm, and they put a guarantee behind their work, their repair work for life.
Sure. Great.
And so I'm talking to the guy, and he goes, well, here's the deal. You know, you're going to have to go through this process with State Farm, and, you know, basically you were going to have to create like an additional addendum to this claim. And he goes, send me a copy of the original work. And I sent it to him, and he goes, I can tell you what happened here. And I'm like, well, I'm all ears. And so he goes, well, not only did they not use an OEM factory part, they didn't even use an aftermarket part. They used a used part.
Ooh.
So I've got all the documentation right here, right? I brought it for show and tell. And I'm telling the guy, I'm like, well, how do you know this? And he goes, well, if you look at the supplier list, you've got Lexus of Nashville for the fog lamp, you've got Lexus of Nashville for the side cover, Lexus of Nashville for the upper molding, and then a company called All Star Auto Lights out of Orlando, Florida.
Oh boy.
For the headlamp assembly, which was $2,000. And so what they did is they refurbished a headlamp and they used that and put it in place. And so here's the lesson, everybody. A lot of times when you're going in for vehicle repair, you go to the body shop, you get your insurance company involved or the other person's insurance company involved, and we're getting to that in a minute. And they work it out, and you get a phone call, and it says the estimate's been approved, and we're ready to go forward with the repair. But, Jay, It's really difficult in this era to get a copy of that actual parts list. They almost intentionally, I'm not sure they do intentionally, but it feels like they intentionally avoid sending it to you for this very reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I get it, yeah.
And so, this, I think, is going to end up a happy ending because we've got a situation where it looks like they've approved the new claim and all that. Now, my wife was rear-ended at a stoplight over just the week before Thanksgiving 21, okay?
Right. I remember that.
As we're recording this, it's the end of the end of
and
March.
You're still dealing with this.
Car just went into the body shop last week.
Mm.
That's how long it took to get parts. Now, she was rear-ended. My wife was completely stopped, sitting in a stoplight, and the person behind her said in the left turn, they were both in the left turn lane, and the person said, well, out of my peripherals, I saw the lane next to me go, and I just thought I thought the light was green. Well, you know what that means, don't you, Jay?
Yeah.
I mean,
I wasn't texting. Sorry about that.
You know what that means, right, Jay? I was looking out of my peripherals, and I'm holding my cell phone and texting for you guys listening on the podcast, right?
Right. Yeah.
She just
it's a good visual
stepped
for me.
on the gas and rear-ended my wife.
Yep.
So their insurance company, because this was 100% their fault, is Nationwide. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a little prepared statement.
Don't
Yes?
they have that little jingle real quick? It's like Nationwide.
I'm not
is on
giving
your
them any
side.
love.
Are they on your side?
Yeah, no, not on my side.
Right. That's why I brought that up.
All right,
Just
so
trying to bring that up. Yeah.
I have a prepared statement. Tell me if you've heard this one before.
Okay. Ready.
To the people at Nationwide, you might think you can take advantage of people harmed by your clients. You can try to manipulate the circumstances and hide behind obscurity. I don't work in the insurance industry, but what I do have is a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career, and skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Ooh, I smell what you're cooking, Mr. Roadhouse. Yes.
So last week, I call the body shop, and I'm like, can I see a copy of the parts? I want to make sure we're using OEM parts. My wife was rear-ended. My expectation is this is 100% your fault. We're going to put back on it exactly what was on it before you damaged it.
Absolutely.
Right?
No cutting corners.
And the body shop initially said, no, there was quite a few parts on there that were not. So I reached out to the claims adjuster at Nationwide. His name is Lee. I'm not going to give you his last name. And Lee said, no, we're not doing that. And I went, yeah, you are. And he went, no, we're not. And I went, hey, we're 100% no fault here. This is your client. And then I did something I probably shouldn't have done, Jay. I did the other classic movie line. I said, Lee, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Classic. I love it.
And you know what Lee chose?
He chose the hard way?
He chose the hard way.
Oh, boy.
So 5 minutes later, so I said, all right, man, I'm gonna call my insurance company, and I'm gonna basically ask what can be done here, because this is not acceptable. So 5 minutes later, I get an email from this guy, Lee, and it says, good afternoon. Since you've decided to use your own insurance on this claim, I've stopped payment on the check we issued you on December 30th, 2021, 3 months prior. Please shred the check as it is no longer good. I have approved the rental car through tomorrow. You'll need to return it. Then you can start the process again with State Farm.
Whoa.
Because I required OEM factory parts on that repair.
Nationwide. You should be ashamed of yourself. Stealing from people.
So what can you do in these circumstances if you're not at fault and you're having a hard time getting results? Well, this is actually where your own insurance company comes in, and this is why you have to have it. Because there is a process. It's called subrogation. I called our insurance guy who I love, and I said, hey, man, what can you tell me? And he goes, well, first of all, that guy's an asshole.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I already know that, but what else can you tell me? And he goes, you just pay your deductible, and we'll go after him, and you'll get the parts you want, and it'll be done. And I went, okay.
I would like to thank you for bringing this up, Keith, because there's a lot of people out there in these situations that don't even think about that.
Yeah.
And I think that our conversations that we have had over the years about these things is that as a vehicle owner, as someone who pays their premiums, who is a valued customer of someone who offers coverage for your vehicle did not come with aftermarket parts on it. It did not come with used parts on it. Now, there is a process that they go through when the vehicle actually loses value. We get that.
Yep.
And so that they have to factor that in. But when the person that hits you is at fault 100% and you are at no fault whatsoever, you have absolutely, especially on a new vehicle within 5 years of age, you have absolutely 100% every right to have original equipment product on there. And there should be no excuses for that. And I'm telling you right, this is the first I've heard of this whole story, guys. So he's been wanting to tell me this story.
Oh, I was pissed. Well, it's a good thing we waited.
Too. And you know, Nationwide should be ashamed of themselves, especially that branch.
They're just trying to save money. They're just trying to slide in a couple cheap parts here and there to save some money. And I get it, but that's not really doing the right thing. Now, we will get our deductible back, you know, provided that it is, we're not at fault, which we're not. I mean, she was rear-ended at a stoplight. She was completely stopped.
Thank goodness she had no medical issues out of that.
Well, and, that's where, like, my insurance guy said, I mean, this guy's lucky. Like, you want to take some time and reevaluate your health and wellness. This could get ugly. He's kind of stepping into some territory I'd be careful in. And so there is a way, guys. It ultimately does come back to you're gonna have to have your own insurance company have your back, but they can do that. It just makes the process take longer. Like I said, Lee, we could do this the hard way or the easy way, and you chose the hard way. So here we go, man. I'll see you in hell.
Gloves are off.
All right. Anyway.
Wow. Speaking of gloves being off.
I've been busy, dude. See? I've been busy.
You have been busy. Wow. Yeah. You just slipped that right in, man. That was like, wow. That's good content right there for our listeners. And hopefully the lesson is learned there by you, the listener, and I know it has been by Keith.
Get a copy of the repair report. A lot of times they're called repair orders. Look through it. If you have any questions, call the body shop doing the work. Ask them if they're using OEM parts. Ask them which ones aren't. You know, I mean, you're not always going to get 100% OEM parts, but you can get the majority of them, like Jay said, if the vehicle's less than 5 years old. So there you go.
And they will have an OEM part number. And you can check that. You can run the number and see if it's actually an OEM number. There are ways to check it. So do your homework.
The thing I love about that movie Taken, Jay, is Liam Neeson basically gave the guy a chance. He wasn't threatening him. He just said, "Look, man, just stop what you're doing right now, and we'll all walk away from it. But if you continue down this path."
Yes.
I'm going to be a nightmare for you.
You were going total smackdown with that dude, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like martial arts level, don't mess with me, dude. So congratulations on your handling of that.
Thanks.
I think that's amazing, and your wife will be happy to have her vehicle repaired and all that good stuff. So
it'll be back in one piece at least for the next day or two.
Well, just don't put up a new mailbox and you'll be
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Sorry. Anyway, so speaking of,
It's all right. She doesn't listen.
yeah, right. You say that. Yeah, I see her. Trust me, I see her comments. So speaking of gloves being off, whoa! Did you catch the Oscars at all?
Only after my wife and everybody else told me I needed to be aware of what happened.
Holy cow! I watched it, and I'm really kind of still a little bit in shock over the whole deal of how it all went down. In case you guys were sitting under a rock somewhere, we all know that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage. And apparently the reason behind that was he cracked a joke about Will's wife's current hairstyle, which is none, because she has some sort of condition that her hair falls out. So, and sorry about that, Jada. I hope you get through that and everything. My heart goes to you for that situation. However, Will, dude, you just can't go slapping people for telling jokes. And it was a joke. It was. I don't think it was done maliciously. I think it was when you're host of the Oscars or the Grammys, that's a big deal. And when you're a comedian, man, you're going to throw a few jokes your way. I mean, you got to have thick skin. That's what you're in the business for. But my point to this whole thing is and honestly, I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Let me know when it's done because I don't care. It's taken up way too much airtime, including ours here. But I've watched that video over and over again. And, I've seen a few WWE matches in my lifetime.
This is so interesting. Okay.
And I'm telling you, man, I'm not real certain that this was legitimately an action that was taken. I think this thing was a stunt. I think it was planned, and I think it bit him in the ass here. And nobody knows what to do other than swallow their pride and move on with what's given them. But I tell you what, Will Smith, you are I don't know what to say, man.
So
you are wrong, dude.
I'm staying out of this one. I don't have an opinion. I've been, as we've previously established on this very podcast, I have exercised bad judgment in my past. I try to always learn and adapt. Doesn't always happen. I don't know the details, but I will tell you that my mind did go, Jay, to this potentially being some sort of a setup situation.
I think it was.
I mean, let's look at. No,
I think the Oscars.
Yeah,
I think the Oscars knew about it too. I think they were involved.
It happened late in the show, so that doesn't really fit with if you were going to stage something like this, you would typically do it earlier. The Oscars have struggled with bad ratings over the past few years. They've also had some racial division and some issues with that over the past handful of years. So here you have kind of a circumstance that involves all of those things, and people are talking about it like a week later, and it's still making the news cycles. And I don't really know. I can see. I've said some things at time that maybe weren't that could have been a little insensitive. I've also I don't know. It's we're talking about it like you said, but I mean, it certainly to me wouldn't be a huge reach if somebody came out 3 months later with an expose and they said, "Hey, it was all staged and here's how they did it," and I'd go, "Yeah, okay. I can see that."
Okay. Yep. Well, for the record, I'm thinking it was practicing for some scene in some wrestling movie they've got coming out together, and they've been working on the slap. So
we'll you figure Will Smith has spent enough time with trainers in his various movies that you would think he knows how to throw a punch a little better than what I saw.
Absolutely, and the old stomping of the foot on the ground to make it sound loud. That is a classic wrestling move, and to make it sound more dramatic than it actually was.
Yeah.
When I see smiles on faces after it physically happens, like they're trying their best to hold back a laugh, that's kind of where I got to go,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not so sure that was a real deal. But anyway, we shall find out. It'll either What? Well, you got
now.
What?
There are people on both sides of this, and some people are calling for Will Smith to lose his Oscar, to have it taken
No,
away.
he should not lose his Oscar.
But
that's my opinion.
If it comes out later that this was staged, isn't that sort of supporting your argument? I mean, that's one of the best. Like, he had us all fooled, right?
Right. I mean, you need to go back in the history books and take a look at a comedian, that was a little over the top. Wherever he went, he was in character all the time.
Yeah.
He was Lockheed or Latva on
Oh,
Taxi.
Andy. You're talking about Andy.
Yeah, Andy. He was in character and people hated him for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a hated guy because he was always in character, but he was just that intense of a comedian and actor. And Jim Carrey follows the same kind of line of that type of comedy and acting. And so, yeah, and oddly enough, or should I say, ironically, he ended up playing Andy in that movie about him. So anyway, I hope that Will did come out and formally apologize to Chris, which he should have done, I think, the night of when he was apologizing to everybody else. That's my opinion. I'm not dragging Keith into this. This is me. But keep his Oscar. He won it fair and square. I mean, his role in that movie, was he did a great job. I think it would be too bad, maybe a suspension or something like that from there for a year or two or whatever. But whatever. Anyway, he'll be fine. Everybody will be fine. They'll get over it. We won't even remember this due to the Springer effect. Nobody will remember this. I
was thinking, this could kill his career, but people have such.
I don't think so.
Such short.
He's probably
memory.
walking around with one of those Men in Black wands where you forget everything that happened. He's going to flash that, and then everybody will forget it, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know. We'll see. Wow. One other piece of news we want to talk about is kind of near and dear to me. I'm sure it is to Keith as well. Live from the news desk.
You said news.
I did. We lost a really, really awesome, not just a musician, but just a human being recently, and that's Taylor Hawkins, who was the drummer and also sang, contributed to that band tremendously, the Foo Fighters. Unfortunately, they were on tour in South America, and he passed away in his hotel room down in Bogota, Colombia. And they're still trying to determine what the cause of death was. I think preliminary tests showed that he had some substances in his system, THC, et cetera, a few other things. But that's not uncommon for people who are in that industry, taking certain medications to help them sleep, to kind of cope with their schedules. There's a lot of different things that could go on there. We don't know, and I have no idea what happened to him, but they did say he had an enlarged heart, which can be caused by many things: stress, medications you may be taking, COVID. COVID has been known to cause some enlarging of the heart as well from a long hauler's standpoint. We don't know if he had COVID, have no idea if that was a contributor to it, but our heart goes out to his wife and kids and the entire Foo Fighters band and their families. And unfortunately, they just announced, as a fan, it's unfortunate to us that for you people who never got to see Foo Fighters with Taylor Hawkins, I liken this to the same thing that happened to Led Zeppelin in 1980 when John Bonham passed away. It was an untimely death as well. They never reformed. They never got a new drummer. They never performed again. They performed once live, and that was in 2008 for a tribute to one of their managers. I forget the guy's name, but it was at O2 Arena in London in 2008.
Didn't Jason play? Yeah.
Yes, and appropriately, John Bonham's son Jason was on the drums for that. And if you haven't seen that, it's an amazing concert. It's just you wish that they could have done something after John Bonham passed away, but they decided not to do that, and they went solo and did their own things. Dave and the rest of the guys decided to call off the entire world tour, period. U.S., everywhere for 2022 with no indication of rescheduling. I am one of the people. My wife and I are two of the people that have to get refunds from Ticketmaster. We were scheduled to see those guys in August. I know many people that were scheduled to see them this year in the U.S., which they were going to be starting fairly soon. So it's a sad day of rock and roll. And I can tell you, man, Taylor Hawkins was loved by so many. When you're getting personal statements made by Ringo Starr, Sir Paul McCartney, Ozzy Osbourne, Slash. I mean, the list is endless of the people who Taylor touched. Not only us as fans, but fellow musicians, his peers in the industry, said how much of just a wonderful, wonderful person that guy was. So,
yeah.
God bless him, man.
If you want to watch, and ironically, I just watched this a couple months ago. And that's, I guess, why it's fresh in my mind. He is prominently featured in a documentary on Netflix called Count Me In. Have you seen it?
Yep, I have. Yeah,
and
I've seen everything those guys are in.
They was it Stuart Copeland from the Police?
Yep.
Is the other prominent one, but those two get a lot of screen time on that documentary. And the documentary basically goes through the importance of rock drummers and the ones that have changed the genre for the better.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that'll be blowing up now on streaming now that he's passed, right? But it's a good watch.
Yeah, probably every Foo Fighter documentary out there is worth a watch. I've seen them all. I own a few of them on Blu-ray. Just because I'm such a huge fan. And like I said, the first time I ever saw those guys was at the Gorge in Washington State.
Ironically, it's in George, Washington.
It's in George, Washington, but it's called the Gorge.
It's on the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's on the Columbia River Gorge in George, Washington. And then the last time we saw them was in 2019.
Yeah,
in the summer 2019 at Safeco Field in Seattle, and it was fantastic. And it was actually the first time that Chris Novoselic, or I think I've pronounced that right, which was the bass player for Nirvana, he opened up for him with his band and came out and played on stage. They played a Nirvana tune, which was the first time they had done that live together. So I was very fortunate to witness that. I've seen a lot of great concerts, but those two Foo Fighters concerts were just hands down, probably some of the best stuff I've ever seen, man. So rest in peace, Taylor. Thank you so much for the wonderful music, man. I wish Dave and all those guys, everybody else in the band, be at peace, and hopefully you guys can create some music in the future. And we as fans will be out there supporting you guys. So anyway, so on to some automotive stuff, man. We've got some automotive topics today. We in the intro we talked about it. There is some eye-opening changes going on in the automotive industry, and whether you like it or not, Keith and I keep saying this: the electrification movement is about as in full swing as you possibly can get right now, and we've got proof of it right now, and we're blown away by some of this stuff. But first, we want to talk about a move by the Director of Homeland Security, who has put together a panel of business leaders in the U.S. to be on the Homeland Security Advisory Panel. GM's Mary Barra is one of those individuals. There's another lady from CEO of Polaris who is also on that. Where is she at? What is her name?
I've got the list right here. And,
do you? Okay.
Well, I don't have the executive's name. I have some of them, but these are the ones in addition to Mary from GM that were invited into the council.
From GM. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So you also have the chief executives from United Airlines, Bank of America, Polaris, Duke Energy, Chobani, and Oracle.
Yes.
Now, we were just talking about conspiracy earlier, and I'm not going to go full on conspiracy on this one, but I am going to point to some things that I sort of read in between the lines on this release that I found to be very interesting. So, for starters, a good chunk of the people that were invited into this council represent organizations that have taken bailout money or subsidy money from the government.
Correct.
Did you know that?
I did know that, yes. That's been pointed out by several people, some of our peers in our industry that have pointed that out. I do find that interesting, but the other side of this too is that one might ask, why in the world would a business leader, a CEO of General Motors, be on an advisory panel for Homeland Security? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we're going to get into some of those here in just a minute. But my thought on what is your thought on that? Why would it be a wise decision to have their input on that?
Alejandro Mayorkas, who's he's the Homeland Security Secretary. He says, so let me tell you what he says as to why they were invited.
Right.
I have my version of that, but he says, I want to hear from different perspectives. I want to hear different perspectives from different backgrounds, different expertise, and different experience. Okay, well, GM was affected by the chip shortage. They've been affected multiple times over the past couple of years by supply chain issues of one kind or another, whether that was the Canadian trucker thing or, the bridge shutdown deal that affected the supply chain, or the chip shortages, or, look, like we've said, as far as GM goes, as the automotive industry goes, so typically does the U.S. economy.
You hit the head of the nail, and that's what I was going to say. If you don't think that the automotive industry has a big impact on our economy, you're completely wrong. And in many ways, and the automotive industry is the pulse of this country, I think.
Yeah. So now look, there's a lot of heated, like when you get into the bailout thing, like I've read both sides. Like people say like, well, look, they paid all that money back, and then there's people that say, oh no, but the taxpayers helped basically absorb some of that loss that was never paid back. I guess my question really is, if your objective is truly to hear from different segments of the industry that are potentially at risk. And I don't know what part of Homeland Security specifically this applies to. Like, are we talking cyber threats? I mean, they don't really go into a whole lot of that.
They don't, but I have my own theory on that, and I believe that that's one of them. I think cyber threats are one of them. But I think the bigger problem that I have with this is that they've pointed out that the recent Canadian trucking protests that blocked the border from getting product across, into Canada or from Canada into the U.S. has actually shut down plants.
Yeah.
We all have that right to voice our opinion and protest peacefully, and they were peacefully protesting. So, again, we're not a political show, but it bothers me that maybe there is some, stricter or different rules that may apply when it comes to these sorts of things, when it's disrupting actual business from being able to be conducted.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to find out how much freedom you really have, go mess with the government, right? Don't pay your taxes, everybody,
right?
And
exactly.
see how free you are. Like,
right?
Ask Wesley Snipes. I mean,
right.
So I guess, Jay, the question that I really have is, if this is truly an advisory council, and you really want to get into ways to navigate the troubled waters of cybersecurity, wouldn't you go after more of the visionaries like Tim Cook?
Oh, absolutely.
Now the Chobani guy, that's a great success story. I can see that's a good, I like that one. But Bank of America, the same Bank of America that's barely in business, that was almost out of business because they couldn't manage their funding properly,
right.
And they got so upside down that the government had to bail them out. Oracle, Larry Ellison.
Okay, Ellison. So these are people who can advise them on, say, what might happen to them in a cyber attack or something like that. But that's not. But they're not going to be. They're not going to be telling you how to fix the problem.
And hey, don't take my word for it. Go on the internet and go to Reddit or go just Google the people that have Oracle today. How many of them really like it as a good product? How many people think Larry Ellison has run a good? I mean, every single the majority of what you're going to see on that guy is not positive.
Yeah,
he has a long career of basically selling a product that was popular in the 70s that he's been able to basically manipulate and strong-arm businesses into forcing them to continue to have to use it because he locks them out of their data if they don't. I just don't know that these are the visionaries that we want on an advisory panel. I guess that's my point, right?
Yeah, I get it, and that is a great point. I'm with you on that with the definitely with the history there. And, you bring up about the bailout situation. You kind of wonder what the motive here is. It does sound like to me that you have some sort of like conspiracy theory thing going on, maybe why that might be going on. But I see the cyber attack potential being a big deal for auto manufacturers and banking. All those things can be affected. I mean, will disrupt the U.S. business, period.
Yeah, right.
In a big way. I get that. But again, for me, when I look at them basically pointing the finger at the protests that were going on, that kind of bothers me, and I wonder what direction and how far overreaching will Homeland Security go. And remember, people, just understand why there was no Homeland Security before 9/11. This was put together after that for good cause. I get it, but there's some reaching that goes on with this, and be careful. And you're right about that. Don't get in Big Brother's way.
So to bring this full circle, Jay, and you had alluded to in the beginning of this segment. By the way, everybody, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so over on YouTube. That there could be some of these people could have potentially the ability to sort of guide policy in their favor, right?
Absolutely.
And according to Mayorkas, he said that the council would work to, and this is a quote from him, define the department's strategic vision, strengthen the department to better meet the increasingly dynamic and rapidly evolving threat landscape, and harness technology and innovation to modernize the programs it administers. So that last part's sort of where I was focusing, harnessing technology and innovation. Right. I feel like some of these people are followers, they're not leaders, but some of them are leaders. But there are also there's a total of 33 members on this council, I think. So there's a lot more people here than just the ones that we've mentioned.
Absolutely, and you kind of wonder what the relationship each one of those has with each other as well. What's in it for me? And are we working together on this situation? Right. Remember that General Motors is the front runner in the electrification of vehicles in this country.
No, they're not. No, they're not. It's totally Lordstown, dude.
Yes. But you catch my drift, right? I mean, a lot of people, are trying to put that out there. Yeah, poor Lordstown, man. They really have become the bad shoe, haven't they?
Well, I sort of feel like they wanted it. They asked for it. We could have done this the easy way. You guys chose the hard way, so here we go.
Absolutely. I hear you, man. But no, I mean, you think about it. You wonder how much of this is because GM is pushing the electrification. Yeah. And, of course, there is that big push for EVs, getting rid of internal combustion engines. So, which, by the way, I'm on the record, in my lifetime won't happen, but I think that maybe in my kids' lifetime it might. We'll see. So anyway, that's interesting. Food for thought with all that stuff, guys. Keep your eyes on that stuff. I think it's a very interesting story to understand. I'd like to maybe find out. If we get information from this, we will certainly bring it out on this podcast, what we learn and some of the directions they may be taken. But I do agree with Keith that I would feel that more beneficial to us if it were a cyber attack type situation that they were trying to prevent or look into the minds of those that understand that better. It would be the tech guys. So
this is about saving the future of humanity.
I love it, man. I'm
so
glad
that show was so good. It's so good.
I am so happy you got your sound drops back, man. I love it. I love it. So, and speaking of electrification, because that ain't going away, right? I mean, nobody's buying EVs, are they?
No, nobody.
Nobody? No?
Nobody.
No?
Wait, are we about to talk about an electrification story?
Oh, yeah. You imagine
Make
that?
it so.
Number 2. Number 1. Was that Picard?
Make it so.
Is that Picard?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. Are you watching the new season?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Episode 4.
What? Okay. So you've seen Whoopi.
I'm caught up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
she's back.
Don't spoil it for people.
Well, that's their fault. Hey, spoiler alert. If you are watching it and you haven't got past episode 1, don't listen.
Red alert.
No.
All hands to battle stations.
Wolf.
What's his the detective that he always played on the holodeck was
Oh man, you're digging deep on the characters. I don't know.
Well, they made a reference to it in the last episode.
I need to check that last episode out because I haven't watched 4 yet.
Okay.
So I've been out of town and
Dixon Hill,
stuff, so.
right?
Dixon Hill.
Is that right?
Might be. Yeah. It sounds right.
Okay.
We'll update you guys on a future podcast about this. So.
All right. You trying to get to something actual content here while I keep throwing sound drops at you?
Yeah. So, do you have Tom Cruise talking about his Porsche by chance?
Oh man, that would have been great. No, except no substitute. But no, I do not have that.
Right, that's too bad.
I have, I have Thunder from Days of Thunder. I don't know. That was horrible.
Ooh. And the Thunder Roll. Is that Garth? Garth is the Thunder Roll guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so here we are. We're going to talk about something that was just announced about Porsche. I mean, Porsche is just one of those products that just embodies performance and luxury, fast, boom.
Well,
man, they're going all electric, aren't they?
Yeah. So interesting how. So this is under the Volkswagen Group umbrella, right?
Yes.
VW Group.
Audi, VW. Yep.
And they're carefully segmenting their brands to VW by contrast, they just came out with the ID Buzz. We talked about that.
Yeah.
We've got a video out on YouTube. The other Jedi from episode 1.
Oh, Ewan McGregor.
Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, Ewan McGregor. See how my brain did that? It put both of those guys together today.
Yes.
Did the I guess the press release unveiling of that. But VW is not going all in on EV. Now they have a plan, right? But they still have a lot of stuff out there that they're going to continue to do with diesel or whatever.
Correct.
This is something I feel like Stellantis could learn from. Instead of trying to basically, it's celebrate the differences in the brands under your management, right?
I like that train of thought there. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Let Ram be Ram, let Fiat be Fiat. But Porsche is going to be Porsche. Now, this is the 718 Boxster is the one that Cayman. I always think of. But
I do. The Boxster, yeah. There's the Cayman as well. Yeah.
They've said they're going to go EV only. Now, Jay, is it starting in 2025 or after 2025?
By 2025.
So does that mean by the year 2025 or the model year? So it could be by the 2026 model year. Right?
I would say it says the 2025 production model is what it.
Okay.
So mission. Well, let me take that back. Let's give a little history here. Okay. So
time for a history lesson, everybody.
Right. So basically the Boxster is going to be an EV only. And it was made at the company's annual conference during the 911, which the 911 hybrid was reconfirmed as a non-PHEV, which is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And purely electric guys, the smaller model from Zuffenhausen is still being referred to as a mid-engine car. Instead of a combustion engine, the battery will sit between the axles. The 30V from Porsche after the Taycan and next year's Macan, the zero-emission 718 Duo, which they're referring to the Boxster and the Cayman, will be the firm's first cars on the premium platform electric, which they're calling the PPE. The PPE is being developed with Audi, which makes complete sense because they're all under the same family, which will be launching its equivalent Q6 e-tron. So everybody's familiar with the A6 e-tron, and then I think they released a concept vehicle called the Avant concept.
Yes.
And if you look at the Porsche also released some renderings of what they call the Mission R, which is basically a straight up performance Porsche, and it's all electric as well. To tell you how fast that is, it can run to 62 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds, max out at about 186 miles an hour. It's amazing. And so what you have here, you've got the Mission R is based on the Cayman's chassis, and the 2025 production model will be an all-new development. So there you go. That's why I wanted to tie that all together for you. So what they are doing is they are positioning themselves to make these transitions and using current platforms while developing other platforms to make this all come together for a common goal of all electric vehicles across the board, and that's going to happen.
Yeah, so the way that they're doing this, and in particular this 718, I feel like it's the right move. I personally think this is where if you have to, I was going to say if you have to start somewhere, technically this isn't their first EV, but this is their first commitment to going all EV in one of their performance automobiles. So, and I know you guys are watching this and listening to this, you're going to go, oh, but every Porsche is a performance car. Yes, that's true. But some of these cars are more targeted toward the enthusiast, like track day kind of enthusiast than...
Right.
I mean, you could take your crossover Porsche on a track day. There would be nothing wrong with that, but I would think that's not as common as like somebody out here with a like two-seater, like a 718, right? And so I just feel like doing this in the Boxster makes a ton of sense because it's a more expensive automobile. You start there, trickle down.
And this ties into what you said on our last podcast, Keith, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed to our podcast, please go over to PartsCounterGuru.com and then hit the podcast links, and we're on every platform out there. Thank you if you are subscribed. If you're not, please hit that subscribe button. Remember on our last podcast, you talked about Fiat and how Stellantis could use the Fiat as that position as an all-electric vehicle, Fiat
did this thing where it's just like Toyota did with the Supra, right? Where they partnered with BMW.
Right.
Fiat's got a sporty roadster, but it's like a Mazda. It's like it's not Fiat like traditional Fiat.
Not the Spider and what we're used to.
Go make your own. And that's exactly my point is go develop your own platform. The guy running Stellantis needs to give Fiat the permission to be different, go do their own thing. Now I know there's in theory, like Porsche has more money to do this kind of R&D stuff than Fiat would, right? I get it. But I still feel like there has to be some uniqueness to the brand. Otherwise, it's like we're just slapping a badge on another Stellantis product. And I think it's very easy for me to look at this, Jay, and go, okay, yes, Audi's doing something similar. Yes, they're sharing a platform, but they are distinctly different automobiles.
They are. Absolutely,
that Q is very different than this 718.
Yes, it is.
It's not the same person is potentially a different person that would be drawn to buying a Boxster versus like an e-tron, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And I just feel like this is the right way to handle your and look, man, if they get 5 years down the road in this and they go, well, the EV thing is fine and all, but we have a better way now and we're going hydrogen. Okay. Well, people are just going to look back and go, oh, well, that was the 5 years that they ran electric if you happen to be a collector, right? I mean, it's not a big deal.
It's not. It isn't, man. Real quick, too, back on the note of when this is going to happen. The next gen Macan 911 hybrid, 718 Boxster and Cayman, whatever you want to call it, will help Porsche reach its goal of decarbonization. They're saying 50% of annual sales to be represented by hybrids and pure electric vehicles by 2025.
Yeah.
And 80% will be electric vehicles alone by 2030.
Well, and they have some diesel versions of some of those automobiles that you just mentioned in the Porsche lineup that are really solid. Like you can go in one of those crossovers, like you can go a long way. I mean, they are really great fuel economy in their diesels.
Right. I just did some research, by the way, on a diesel that is in the 2020 and 21. They started in 2020, was like the Escalade.
Yeah.
The Silverado 1500, the Sierra 1500, and a couple other models in their SUV truck line.
Half-ton diesel?
It's a 3.0 liter Duramax.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's an inline 6, 24 valve turbo. And again, and I'm speaking in terms of what you were saying. There's some solid diesel engines out there performance-wise, and this is one of them too. The Duramax line, which is Isuzu basically, has been real good for GM. Just throwing that out there in the mix here when you're talking about diesels.
I think you just offended millions of GM owners out there by calling their Duramax an Isuzu, but it doesn't make it any less true. Everybody.
Well, then they shouldn't base the S10 off the old Isuzu.
Right.
I'm just saying. So, but they've been borrowing Isuzu engine platforms for years. GM has, specifically in the truck side.
I can't wait to see the comments on this one.
Right, but here's the thing though. I'm going back to what I've been saying, which is while internal combustion engines seem to be like on the chopping block, it's not completely true, because you've got the diesel market that is still growing heavily and will continue to grow heavily from a commercial standpoint. And those things have gotten much more cleaner with their filtration systems that they have on them. They're running exhaust gas recirculation on these big rigs now. They're a lot more fuel efficient and a lot more environmentally friendly than they used to be. So I think you're going to see the phase happen. Automotive sector first, but you're still going to they're going to still allow some of the diesel stuff to happen. I think you'll still see, there's been some talk of some other gasoline engines that are, internal combustion engines that will be available soon. I think Stellantis just made an announcement about that with their Hurricane. We'll talk about that in a later podcast. But
well, how can we find out?
They can go right here to partscounterguru.com. and listen to our podcast and subscribe to our podcast, Keith. Thank you. I'm losing my touch. I'm usually right spot on.
That's why I'm here. I feel like I can contribute today.
Man. So yes, by the way, so if you're watching this video, thank you for watching, and make sure you hit the subscribe button before you leave this channel, and click the bell so you're notified when more videos like this come out. But this is an interesting move by Porsche, I think, because I think that when you have a company, an auto manufacturer like Porsche, with the reputation that they have, with what they are and what they have been, this, for us, it's a breath of fresh air in the realization that this stuff is happening, man.
Right.
We said this at the Performance Racing Industry Show. There was a reason why they were showcasing some of the electrification that was going on there, and we saw it at SEMA as well. I mean, they were running Mustang Mach-E's around the track out there.
It's instant power to the to the pavement, right? I mean,
look
the Rivian video that I sent you.
Yeah.
Where the dude was. So they had a Rivian and a Ram, and the is the TRX, I think, right?
TRX, yes.
And then the Ford Raptor.
Right.
And then it got so ridiculous that they put a Chevy S10 in tow behind the Rivian, and it still beat the Ford Raptor.
Right.
I mean,
it's interesting, and we're not taking away again. We have to say this disclaimer for Keith and I: We are not anti-internal combustion engine. We are not pro-EV. We're pro-automotive industry, and this is what's happening in our world right now. So that's why we talk about it.
Vehicles that go fast, though, I mean, EV is clearly at an advantage right now.
Have you seen the concept, the renderings or the actual concept car, which is the Porsche Mission R? Have you seen that?
No. It
is amazing, man. I would recommend anybody go check that out. It's a beautiful car.
Well,
I can't really wait to see where this thing goes. It's in, if you scroll down.
I'll put it in
the video. That I showed. So here it is, right here, guys. Yeah. See, right here. Yeah. Whoop. Can you give us a little whoop? Give me a drop.
I just did. You didn't hear it?
Yes, I heard it. Yes. But anyway, so there you go. But you have anything else to add to that, Keith? I really don't. I'm excited for Porsche. I'm excited to see what's coming down the line. This will be fun to watch this evolve and come into what it is. Because again, talking to you guys over the years about this stuff, pay attention to the performance world. What's going on in the racing side of our industry ends up on the consumer side as everyday vehicles. And Porsche is and you've got Porsche and you've got the Countach out. You got all these exotic cars, these $1 million vehicles that are becoming electrified or at least electric assist. There's a reason for that, and it's about performance and reliability for one, and it's different when you're up into that $1 million range VIP vehicle for sure. So all those guys, what Kid Rock likes to be a little different, right? Who is that?
I hadn't noticed, Jay.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go, man. Good luck, Porsche, with that, and we will keep our audience informed. So stay tuned to our channel for that. Wow. So we're going to go out on this one as if we're not talking enough EVs, man. We got plenty to talk about here today. So, okay, all you Subaru lovers, it's happening. And I got to ask my buddy here locally who actually owns a WRX, but there was an official statement put out about the future of the WRX STI, essentially. And here's what the statement says. I'm going to read this to you verbatim right from Subaru. As the automotive marketplace continues to move towards electrification, Subaru is focused on how our future sports and performance cars should evolve to meet the needs of the changing marketplace and the regulations and requirements for greenhouse gases, zero-emission vehicles, and corporate average fuel economy. As part of that effort, Subaru Corporation is exploring opportunities for the next-gen WRX STI, including electrification. In the meantime, the next generation internal combustion engine WRX STI will not be produced based on the new WRX platform. So, if you want a what?
He's dead, Jim.
Right. I cannot tell you how many current Subaru owners must be pissed about this.
Well, okay, go ahead. I got all kinds of thoughts and questions, but you were about to go somewhere with this before I declared the ICE.
Well, I was just going to say that here is another company out there that realizes the direction and the demand, and we're talking a generational situation here, guys. I'm telling you that they have their eye on the ball, and when they're marketing 10 years down the road, okay? This is a 5, 10, 15-year plan that they're marketing towards. And we talked about this. They're not selling to the 50-somethings, the 60-somethings. They're selling to the 18-year-old, the 21-year-old that's going to be, moving on up in the company when they're 30 years old, and they can drop a lot of cash on something. And the current state of gasoline prices, and that they're being taught how, emissions have caused a lot of problems with our environment. All of these things factor into this big movement. They are cutting bait now. They're getting it done because all of their competitors out there are doing the same thing. They're doing it now. They're letting you know now. And all I can say is this, like I said, there's going to be some pissed WRX owners out there, man. So go with your theories on it.
All right,
man.
now I have questions. Now,
Okay.
not that you have all the answers, but this is a little something that we like to do from time to time, where I'll just throw out scenarios and draw upon Jay's vast automotive industry knowledge to help try to guide me through reasons behind this. Okay,
Okay.
And so this is no different. So,
I'm all ears, pal.
considerable following by
Yeah.
this brand
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
rally car industry. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And all-wheel drive is a common offering, if I'm not mistaken, in this model. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So we see a lot of electric vehicles that are dual motor. You know, the Mach-E, Tesla Model 3. Rivian, some of these guys are playing around with 3 motors. You don't see a whole lot of 4 motors. So is it the kind of scenario where, you know, I can't imagine that Subaru would want to give up an all-wheel drive offering in any of the models that currently has it?
Right.
Do you just have one of those motors drive 2 wheels, like one axle? I mean,
Yeah.
because these guys that are using these for rally cars, they're not going to want to give up that all-wheel drive capability, right?
No.
Can you pull that off in an EV? I mean, is it realistic to think that an EV version of this WRX can go out and race and get just banged around like some of these off-road races like they're known to do?
Absolutely, it can. They can pull it off. It can happen.
And what's the downside to that, right? Like, is there a downside? Like, you know, that's a beloved model in that application, right? Like, this WRX is kind of the pioneer behind some of the off-pavement
Yeah,
stuff.
the rally art stuff. Yeah. You have
And they
the
have to be
Evo.
thinking about that, right? Like, they're not going to turn their back on
but-
that in 10 years,
No,
right?
but Ford has already proven with the Mach-E, you know, with their racing version of that, they have gone out and put the Mach-E in the same situation.
But not
and it
off
worked.
pavement, right?
Yeah, no, they've gone off pavement with it, and that's something that, you know, this is the future of this type of racing. It's going to happen, and you're asking if it can be pulled off. Certainly, it can. There's no reason why it can't. I mean, the things that they are doing with these electric motors, these electric vehicles, is in parallel with what they could do with an internal combustion version. I believe that. I mean, the only thing you don't have is you don't have a gas tank. You know, you got batteries, but I mean, is that really a problem for a race like that? I think that I don't think that you accommodate that situation, but performance-wise, I think you're going to have a similar, if not maybe better in certain instances, situation here.
And Subaru was very clear on this. Like, let me just read, like, I'm going to reiterate what they specifically said.
Yeah.
This is their press release that I'm looking at here. As part of that effort, Subaru Corporation is exploring opportunities for the next generation Subaru WRX STI, including electrification. So they're not saying that, like, they're guaranteed to be electrification. It's saying including electrification. But this is what they do say. In the meantime, a next-generation internal combustion engine WRX STI will not be produced based on the new WRX platform. They are not going to give you a gasoline engine option for this new WRX platform, period.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's the way it reads to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what their statement said. You know, will there be an Outback STI? I mean, who knows? I mean,
Sure.
you know,
There could. Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
So I mean, there's other models to work with, but the WRX is beloved, man, in the rally world, and that's the biggest for me. I will guarantee you there are people out there going, well, why the WRX, man? Why are you doing it to the WRX now? Because I think that they're looking down the road, man. That WRX has been a great sell for Subaru over the years. I know guys here where I live that I have beers with, 2 people that I know, both own one, and both of these guys, they're nearing 70 years old. They love them. They're constantly tuning them. I mean, they love that whole process of dyno, tune, everything, turbo, everything about it to get this thing sweet and tuned and in right where it needs to be, so they can, go
we
fast.
might
Go
might
fast.
be on the opposite side point of view on this one, which is rare for us, everybody. But I feel like this may not be the right model. I've basically been leading to this statement throughout this whole segment. I'm not sure if I'm running Subaru, this is the model that I would make this statement with.
Yeah.
I think I would go with an Outback or something else and go all in on the WRX would be the last platform I would take gasoline away for the very reasons that you just laid out, that you got the tuner crowd, right? Like how much are they going to be able to mess around with the electric equivalent?
Well, that remains to be seen. And that's the thing. I mean, if they're going to make these moves, this is just one specific model that they can work with to lead themselves into the EV world. This is
bring
one
back the Justy, make it an EV,
right? Or how about the Brat, man?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
But I don't know if it's a bad move, really. Again, it's about marketing.
I don't know that I would have gone in this direction if I'm running Subaru.
Well, I would say look at units sold of this versus something else like your Outbacks. How many Outbacks are out there? Holy cow, right?
Yeah, I feel like people that buy the WRX though buy it for what it is and its reputation.
It is specific. It is a specific crowd that they're catering to.
People that buy as I smack the mic, people that buy a Subaru do it more out of the reputation that Subaru has for being environmentally friendly.
Yeah,
and
we call those Seattle X, by the way.
Yeah, right. And it's almost two separate audiences. Not totally.
It
but,
is.
It
is. It's like Toyota, right? It's how they have, their GTRs, stuff that we never see in the U.S. It's only in Japan.
Right.
That we wished we could get our hands on. And we think personally that if Japan would release that stuff in the U.S., it would go over huge. We know it would. But they don't. And I don't know. I personally think that they are looking at one specific model that is a specific type of vehicle. Overall, not the rest of their lineup. The rest of their lineup, they're just using pieces of what they already have. I mean, how many EJ 202s or whatever that are out there? All of these boxer engines that have been used for all these years that come in many different variants depending on its usage. But the WRX itself, man, is kind of stood alone, and it's not like all these other things. So maybe it's time to, if we're going to experiment with the EV world, let's go ahead and take it with this one and let's see what happens. Let's don't upset the apple cart. We're going to defend our large portion of our sales while experimenting with a lower portion of our sales. You know what I mean? A very small percentage of their whole market. I'm just saying, I think it's a good move if you're going to do it, not mess with the rest of the stuff. Experiment with this, see what happens, and then when it comes to electrifying everything else, you've already done the performance side of it. You've got that figured out, and you can move it over to the rest of their lineup. That's just my thought on it. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm envisioning now attending these rally races, like watching people watch them in like 5 years. And, the noise, you hear the cars coming over the hill kind of thing.
Yes.
It's that rin, and all the clutch work that you hear, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just going to be... Right? And they're gone.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't see it as a bad thing. I mean, if they're going to electrify, go ahead and electrify your performance vehicle.
We said it earlier. I mean, I said it earlier. Like, if you like speed, if you're an enthusiast, if you're an auto enthusiast that likes things that go fast, right now the EVs have that cornered, right? Like,
absolutely, they do.
That's your torque. That's your instant power to the pavement.
Right. And a WRX STI, WRX is designed for what? Rally. That's what it's that's what it's for. That is their performance vehicle. All the other stuff, It is the lion's share of their sales. And I think that's why they're probably not going to mess with that right now. Go over here and experiment with this, because if we take it away and piss people off, it's not going to kill our bottom line that much.
Yeah.
But you do it to the rest of them, the Outbacks and the Justies and the Brats, yeah, then you got a problem.
Now let's see, you guys. Tell us what you think. Make sure you leave us a comment over on the YouTube video here. And I want to hear valid reasons behind whether you think this is a great idea or a bad idea. I don't want to hear EVs suck, man. You just
don't do that.
Please, let's engage in some intelligent banter here, right? Like,
right.
Is this a good move for the brand or not?
Right. Tell us why you think they would be doing this with the WRX instead of the Outback.
EVs,
I mean, what is your opinion on that? And if you are a WRX owner, how do you feel about this? I mean, does it upset you that that's going to happen? But hey, Porsche did it. They're doing it with some of their great performance vehicles as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
If Porsche can do it, anybody.
Porsche has a following in those, like, in their Boxster and whatnot, but I don't think it's the loyal following that this WRX.
You're right.
has.
I mean, the WRX is a sector of their market, their sales that really.
Well, the old saying, right? Like you buy a $40,000 Subaru and you spend $70,000 on upgrades, right? I mean, that's
like a Harley. It's like a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, right. I mean,
you go buy a stock Harley Davidson, man.
Yeah.
It's the same way. It's the same thing. So anyway, we'll see what happens with them. Good luck, Subaru, and we'll keep you guys updated. Please leave comments on this. We really want to hear from you. So thanks a lot for listening to that, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for more episodes like this. So thank you very much.
Make it so. Make it so.
Wow, that's a wrap today, man. What do you think?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
I did.
Was it good to be back in uniform?
It is. I gotta say, like, having my soundboard back, and I don't want to jinx it, but I think my hardware issues have been dealt with also.
Well, I hope so.
We'll
I think
know
you and I are both have made some, quite a few upgrades and some changes and stuff like that.
There's just nothing like having I mean, I feel like this is it's an extension of my personality, right? Having this soundboard here, I mean, it's
it definitely is. I've missed it. I've really missed it, man. I have. You have Bert. Can we just hear Bert one just for old time's sake?
I hate to say I told you so.
That one may never leave.
Boom! It will never leave, especially if we keep talking about electric vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean,
the
board is growing for sure. I've got multiple panels out now. I mean, you got to have the occasional.
Can we do a recap on something real quick?
Yeah,
just before we sign off for the day, just for our listeners,
Yeah, what you got?
Have I been rickrolled?
What you got?
Holy cow, man! All right, let's just talk about this. Just since we have been podcasting and we've been doing this. This is our 117th episode. We've been doing this for a couple years now.
So I'm told. Yeah.
Yep. We started, when the electrification started happening, look at what's come out. I mean, we started talking a little bit about Rivian. Now Rivian's out there. They're in production. Tesla's obviously just keeps pumping stuff out. And then you've got the GMC Hummer EV. You've got the Silverado EV. You've got the Ford F-150 Lightning EV. You've got the Mach-E EV. Now you've got the WRX STI EV coming. You've got the Porsche Boxer and
yeah,
Cayman.
You got the Audi e-tron. You got the
Audi
718
e-tron.
Porsche.
You got the VW ID Buzz. You've got the Cadillac Lyriq. You've got. I mean, right? I just again reiterate to everyone.
I feel like you just open the door to a little version of "We Didn't Start the Fire" here, where you're rattling off EV badge names, right?
I mean, these are things that have happened since we started podcasting.
Yeah,
and that's what blows my mind is how quickly and exponentially this growth is occurring.
Moore's Law.
And hey, Keith and I said, "Can I have Bert?"
I hate to say I told you so.
We've said it. We've been saying it all along, guys. So don't be surprised at what comes at us soon because it's coming. This EV thing is it's changing as we speak and growing as we speak. So
This is about saving the future of humanity.
DeLorean.
Yeah, there's another one. Right?
Yeah. So there you go. You got anything else you want to add before we take off for the day, Keith?
I think that's it for I mean, let's see. So we've gone Homeland Security to Performance EV to Subaru to me basically threatening people that work for Nationwide.
Yeah.
Repair advice. I mean, this is a good variety show.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
This is what we do. Yeah. So take us out, pal.
All right, man. So, hey, everybody, thank you again, as always, for your continued support of the show. And I will say, I'm going to throw one out, Jay, that I haven't done in a while.
Okay.
Just to remind everybody that you can do this as another way to support the show, and that is go on over to our website at partscounterguru.com and click on the Amazon banner. Because I know you guys buy tons of crap on Amazon. And if you click on that banner and then you go to Amazon, you can go ahead and buy whatever it was that you were wanting to buy, but we'll get a little affiliate credit for that. It doesn't cost you any more. It's anonymous. We don't know who bought that like G-string with the, unicorn tail on it or whatever. But it would be a great way for you to support the show, and it doesn't cost you a dime more than you were already going to spend with Amazon. So just a reminder there. And then, of course, all the usual stuff, right? Like make sure you head on over to the podcast while you're clicking on the Amazon banner. Go to that same area, and there's podcast links there. You can click on that.
There's a YouTube link. Yep.
Go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend. That's another good one, right? So the more you talk about us, the faster we grow. That's always helpful. Yeah.
And you can always leave us a comment on our website at partscounterguru.com.
Yeah.
And if there's some topic that you want us to talk about that we haven't talked about that you feel like we may have overlooked, drop us a line and say, hey, talk about this. I can't guarantee you we will, but at least we'll take your input and advice, and maybe we'll run with it. And if we do, we will certainly give you credit. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. And look, I mean, Jay and I both, I think, want to be around doing the same thing. And 3 more years from now, I'll find another insurance company to threaten. So this is the easiest way for you to help us continue to do that.
Right.
All right. So enough kidding around, but seriously, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, that is my pal Jay over there. I'm Keith. Jay, it's dangerous to go solo. Always make sure you bring a Wookiee with you.
I love it, man.
See you guys next time.
I love it.